Hey everybody, it's Danny with Total Geek Live,
Hey.
and I am here with Guy, Baltimore,
Hey.
and Kaiser,
Sup?
and we're going to talk about arcades. Yes, the video arcades, the classic stuff, all the noises, all the cool neon lights, and the crazy carpets, and all the great machines that were in there where we just gave all our quarters away.
Yep.
So,
I got next game.
yep, you got to put that
I
quarter
did.
up there.
Hold on. Let me get my quarter out.
You got it?
Looking on it on the screen.
All right.
Oh, there
Nice.
I got next.
You got next. Kaiser's got next. So we've got a lot of great feedback when a couple of our guys put a post up on Facebook to ask for input on, do you remember what game was where, what location in Corsicana, what time period, and we got a lot of great feedback. So we very much appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. And learned that we thought we knew where all the hot spots were for the arcades, but apparently we were oblivious.
I missed out on a lot.
Yeah, that was surprising and sucky. Damn my youth, being too young.
Yeah, being too young and just not at the right place at the right time.
And then crazy, find out a friend of mine I've done years and years of theater with, good friend John McAdams. Turns out he brought the first Pong machine in his arcade called John's in '73.
Right?
I'm like, how did I not know this?
I mean, it was before all our time. We weren't born yet, but yeah, you would think that would have come up in conversation at some point in time.
I mean, sitting in the green room, the cast party. I mean, somewhere at some point.
I know. Oh, by the way,
over lunch.
Yeah. John McAdams is a real cool guy, and I'm excited to hear that he had done this before.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Even more cool.
Yeah, Pong. I mean, that's just
Atari, Nolan Bushnell.
Yeah, that's the grandfather of all arcade machines, and I think we even have. I think there is one at the Hall of Fame, the Video Game Museum here in Frisco. I think they do have one of the original Pong arcades there. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Well,
so it's kind of neat, but
that is awesome.
What?
Well, I was saying, guy you mentioned, Space War. That was like the first video game. Pong's like the first monetized.
Oh. Right. Yeah, I don't know my history as well.
And they realized they can make it an actual thing that people would pay money for.
Right. Yeah. So it was the first to accept quarters. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Some type of money.
The people, what was it, MIT that created Space War?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know me.
They might have taken your quarters to let you play it. I don't know.
They probably would have.
They had their little change machine, their little thing.
They walked around.
Yeah. It's MIT, so they probably invented that whole thing, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Just for Space War, the coin belt was invented because of Space War.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
MIT, if you're watching, verify that, please.
But yeah, so we all grew up in the arcades, and Corsicana, on top of having a number of arcades, which we'll trip down, also historically contributed to the arcade scene.
Yeah.
Some people know about Midway and Trade West and stuff, but that goes deeper back to Leland Core and Mastervend, where they had made deals with American Technos that brought, a Double Dragon over. John Elway's quarterback with Leland Core. Is it Leland Core? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And I will never forget, in 7th grade, I was in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian, and there's Archie Bunker's chair here, and then over there was an arcade machine. I want to say it was Space Ace, but it had the Leland Core logo on the machine because they worked with the distribution deals. And I'm sitting here like, I'm in the Smithsonian, and here's a little piece of history that Corsicana had a hand in, and it blew my mind,
Yeah,
And
it's really, really cool.
It's a piece of our history that we can't cover it all in this video. It's worth its own research and documenting just that. But we're here just in general. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about where did you guys play your arcade games at? I mean,
well, there's a lot of places. I mean, when you think about it, your arcade, and you just kind of immediately default to the one at the mall, and that's all you kind of think of. And then you kind of let the memories hit you, and you're like, oh yeah, but there was video games at the bowling alley, and oh yeah, there were video games at Mazio's Pizza Warehouse. All these are places that you kind of like slipped your mind, and then you're like right back in it. You're like, oh my god, I remember playing Spy Hunter in Mazio's.
Yeah, I remember playing Mr. Do at Safeway.
There you go.
Contra at HEB.
Yeah. Yeah.
HEB had arcade games. I was playing Contra.
So random that you would you wouldn't think that grocery stores would really have those, but hey, occupy kids' time.
You're there with your parents, and you're like, or your mom or whoever, and you don't want to walk down the aisles with them. They give you a quarter and you go play. So it takes gives kids something to do while their parents are shopping.
Right.
And arcades back then were everywhere. Like we said, I mean, there were gas stations, convenience stores,
restaurants.
Malls,
apparently, OMI had
I didn't know
sit-down tables. And...
I can't believe OMI had one. I would have never imagined that in a million years.
Yeah, apparently,
Fullerton Grocery Store had Gorf. I remember that.
God, it's so wild.
Yeah.
And of course, there was Aladdin's Castle in the mall, and then it became super fun. Movieland had a huge arcade. I spent a lot of time.
Yep, that's where Time Travel was. Time Traveler. Took my $2 every time.
So, here's a question: what was your first video arcade game that you remember playing?
That's a good question. I will have to come back to you and pass that over to Danny or Baltimore.
Yeah, I've got to say it's got to be Pac-Man, and it might even been a tabletop, the cocktail style Pac-Man, at a restaurant, most likely from what I can remember.
Sorry.
B? No, B. You go ahead.
It was most probably Miss Pac-Man, but the one that kind of has the most significant memory for me is the taco shop when it used to be across from the YMCA. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they may have had the tabletop Pac-Man, but I remember they had Dig Dug there, and I used to play Dig Dug a lot. So that's probably one of the ones that sticks out in my head as probably one of the first ones. That or probably somewhere at Pizza Warehouse, the tabletop Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking that mine's got to be like Berserk or Mr. Do. I keep trying to go further and further back. I can't remember my first. I could name off all the arcade games I've played probably, and we'd be here for a few hours, but man, I can't go all the way back to my first.
Yeah, the first game that I remember ever putting a quarter in was this guy.
Oh, yeah.
This guy basically changed my entire life when it came to video games because, I was still so little at this point that I had to pull up a chair to the arcade to actually properly see it. But the whole idea of one of these little things chasing after this guy and just going back and forth in this brightly colored, I mean, it looked like candy on screen. And it was
it really did. It was
Yeah.
Because the colors were all vibrant. I mean,
yeah.
it was on the black background, but
Yeah.
it was, the maze itself looked like neon lights.
Oh yeah.
And it was just amazing. Amazing.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
gameplay was simple. Music was fun.
Simple yet challenging.
It had intermissions. It had cutscenes. It was the first game to ever feature cutscenes. Of like, not so much of a story, but things were happening.
Right.
And of course, as time went on, I definitely graduated onto Miss Pac-Man.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is still to this day my go-to game for over 30 years. So I'm 30 years later, I'm still playing Pac-Man. And I just
Have you beat it?
No one ever can except for Billy Mitchell. So that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
The reigning champion of Pac-Man and many other games.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it was an interesting time in the sense, like I said, you just everywhere you could go, you could find an arcade machine somewhere, and like games back then were so wildly innovative because when you think about it, it's like I don't see the variety of video games now like we see back then because you had little orange guys hopping down cubes, or you had a little frog basically trying to cross the busy highway, or paper boys with the worst paper route ever. Or,
I thought you were gonna pull a paper boy.
I know.
What's that? I've only got so many. No, I've only got so many. But then you had the paper boys are the worst paper route ever. You had people slinging beer taps. People running across giant hamburgers as hot dogs were trying to murder them. I mean, the arcade games were just insane back then with so many unique and innovative ideas. And I don't think you see that like you do today.
There was that point to where the arcades were prevalent up until the home consoles were able to match and then surpass the quality of graphic fidelity.
Right.
And at that point, the arcades went gimmicky, and he started seeing that around with like Time Traveler, where they introduced the hologram. The gameplay is horrid, but but it was futuristic. And then you got like the giant rowing games and the horse riding games. Were actually
Dance Dance Revolution.
Dance Dance was another first, that first step into the more
active video game.
Yeah. So I forgot where I was going with that.
Home video game, home video
game
system.
Right. And so that was kind of the death of the arcade that we're talking about and remembering. That guy you were just speaking about before it became just gimmicks and
Yeah, because there was a shift. I mean, it started becoming more gimmicky, and then arcades started putting more ticket games in so that you could accumulate prizes, or accumulate tickets to get prizes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, though there weren't near as many of those back in the old arcades.
No.
Well, before the video game arcade, that was more prevalent, wasn't it? Like the skee ball and stuff was kind of what you had in arcade.
Right, back in the 70s, it was all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, even back then, they still had games because the arcade was its own thing, but nothing until like way later could even compare. Dragon's Lair, which was at the bowling alley back in the early 80s, and that game was expensive, and you lasted all of 5 seconds, but it was amazing because it was an actual interactive cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really gorgeous.
Hard.
Oh yeah, and it's the only way I've ever been able to beat it is at home on a port with unlimited continues. So
that helps.
So, again, what were some of like your favorite parts of the arcade? What was like the big things that really drew you to like the whole arcade experience? B.
Well, I liked. Okay, so. In complete transparency, I'm not very good at video games, so I got very frustrated pretty easily. And I remember someone mentioning that they had birthday parties at arcades, and I was like, no, I never did that. And then Well, of course I didn't do it. I didn't, do well in video games like that. I wouldn't have had a birthday party there.
Right.
But I liked the motorcycle games or the driving games because that was kind of fun because I wasn't able to drive then or ride a motorbike, so those were kind of fun experiences. And that's something that was always I wanted the experience of doing something different, and so those games really spoke to me. I really had a connection to them. The fighting games I wasn't too great at. I would lose repeatedly and not know the combination, so it would be very frustrating and short. But then there were other ones like the Spy Hunter game, Dig Dug, that was kind of fun for me. So those kind of games that are a little more simple or easy in a sense were the ones I would pretty much gravitate to. Danny?
Right. So, I'm very fondly working at Cinema 4, Cinemark Cinema 4, home of Front Row Joe.
1803
West 7th Avenue.
That's right.
Like you worked there.
Oh, yeah. I loved playing the Simpsons game there. And then there was a couple of pinball games. We had the Terminator 2 pinball machine and Funhouse. I always loved hitting that face, that big face that was always talking trash at you. So, and then Battletoads, because, there was the whole Corsicana Trade West thing with Battletoads.
And that was one of the few arcades I ever saw Battletoads, the arcade machine. And it's the only place I ever saw Haunted House, or Haunted Castle, which was the arcade version of Castlevania. And I didn't even know that. I'm playing it, I'm like, this really feels like Castlevania.
Yeah, I'm
like...
And I never knew that until you guys mentioned it. I'm like, I just played that game because it was one of the ones there, and got to change it up and all that. I had no clue what I was playing the entire time. No clue. I mean, there were just so many great games. I'm looking through the list and stuff. Although I didn't play many games at the pizza places for whatever reason. I guess I was just so busy eating pizza that I wasn't so focused on playing some of the games. As I'm looking at the list of games that they had, and I'm like, oh, that would have been great to play. The Millipede game, you could go forever on one quarter. I would have loved to have played that at Mazio's, but I liked their pizza. So that's where my focus was on that.
What's that about?
Yeah, I know, right? But then I remember Kmart when it was the Super K, had a really nice. I mean, it was a little arcade, but it was nice. That's the first time I ever played Sega's Virtua Fighter, and that was. I don't like fighting games because I'm not very good at them, but I still enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
Because the graphics were a little bit different than any other kind of fighting game, and the characters and stuff. So it was pretty neat.
I remember when I worked at Blockbuster Video back then. Super K had just opened. One of the other managers, Danny Ramirez, and I would always go to Blockbuster closed down at midnight. Since Super K at that point was like 24 hours, we go over there and just play Mortal Kombat 2, and it was fascinating because it was so gory and it was so awesome. And little did I know, about a year or two later, where I'd end up. So,
right?
Where did you end up?
I ended up working for Midway Home Entertainment, who actually made Mortal Kombat and by proxy Defender and Joust and Spy Hunter and Rampage and all those arcade classics. And it was funny because I went over there to test one of their home games, and I got a chance to play Mortal Kombat 3. So, and then just because I'm good at game, I'm good at fighting games, and they asked me what I thought, and they liked the answer that I told them what I thought about it. And next thing I know, they're handing me a job like a few minutes later, and I'm like, yes. And my dad said all those times that I'd never do anything with video games. You can't make a career out of video games, and later on, he actually apologized to me for that, which was funny. But for me, what the appeal of arcade games were, it was a very different experience that you could absolutely never recreate at home.
Yeah.
You'd go in and you'd see those ugly day glow carpets, like they'd always light up under black lights, and then you just always hear the sound of like 20 different arcades like in the background. And I mean, it'd be all from these different companies, Sega, Namco, and Atari, and Midway, and everything else. And it to me, it just sounded beautiful because it was this big electronic mess, but it all just really defined that was the arcade. The other thing that really, again, that you don't get at home is people get excited when someone scores big. If you're doing really well in a game, like a couple years ago, because arcades aren't quite as, well, they really aren't as prominent as they used to be, although they're kind of coming back in a weird resurgence, arcade bars.
Yeah, in the bar scene.
Yeah. But I think what was funny is that they still have that appeal because about 7 years ago, when the second Tron movie was coming out, Disneyland in their California adventure did Flynn's Arcade Recreation. It looked exactly like an 80s arcade, complete right down with Journey playing in the background. And again, I've spent basically my whole life playing Pac-Man. And so I sat down with the original arcade, and there's a picture of me where I'm standing at the arcade, and you can see a whole crowd. And Jen, my fiance Jen, took a picture of this, and you can see a crowd around me because I'm just going at Pac-Man. And that was the cool thing. If you could play those games well, you were like a hero in that spot. It didn't matter what you were like in your outside life, but man, you were big time if you could master one of those games.
Right. Yeah, and that was a lot of fun just to go in there and watch other people play the games. And you're looking at, you pick up on clues or your hints on how to do the gameplay to even play it yourself and get better. And there was a whole social environment with that. You strike up conversations with people who are watching the person play too, and you're like, oh, well, it's a very, very social, interactive kind of thing. And then, of course, you've got the people putting the quarters up. I'm next. Especially if it's it's one-on-one fighting game. Then people are all up in line. Okay, well, I've got next play. That whole thing.
But you knew if they didn't say anything and they just promptly put their quarter on it, it likely meant they were good. I had that happen to me so many times when I was playing Street Fighter 2 at Movie Land. If they said something, okay, I might have a chance. They said something, I said, oh, man. It's just kind of over. I can only hope for the best. I was a Ryu player. Actually, I liked Ken better as I got older. But
it's the platforms like Twitch now are kind of the closest thing we have to that experience of sitting and watching someone play and chatting and having conversations. So it's kind of interesting how that's evolved to what it is now.
Right. Yeah. It's still the kind of same social gathering way, but just in a virtual world sense.
Right.
It'd be cool. Maybe someday we'll be plugged into a virtual world where it feels like we're in an 80s arcade. Maybe.
Which would be
That's
awesome.
an idea.
Closest I ever got to that at home was that game room for Xbox 360, which they unfortunately pulled the plug a little too early on that one. But
that was cool.
It just can't,
yeah.
Because it had online board. Right now it's like online leaderboards are the closest you can get to really being that competitive edge where you're going for that highest score possible.
Right.
That's just kind of replaced it where you don't sit there. Again, it's just such a different experience at the arcade that you just don't get at home no matter what. Again, going back to Movie Land, which was outside of Aladdin's Castle and Super Fun, Movie Land was my other primary arcade because John Robert Scott, he did a great job in getting the latest games that came out. And especially, I remember when my parents came in to go rent something, and for the first time, I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 4-player game. And it looked exactly like the TV show, right down to the music, and it was 4 people could play all the turtles, and you could just go. And at that point, I was in middle school at Drain, So like, Dad kind of just after a while knew that I wasn't going to wait for him at school. I'd walk about a block or so over to Movie Land and just and I just devour how much money I had at the minute, and yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game was so awesome. Love that game so much.
Who would you pick? Who would you always play as?
Donatello.
Michelangelo.
Yeah. Or Leonardo.
If Donatello wasn't available, yeah. It'd be Leo.
Yeah, it was Michelangelo. Hardly anybody would ever play Raphael.
Well, his size were so small.
They're so small. Yeah. The reach was really tough.
And they didn't really balance it, give him a characteristic or trait that made it worth the trade-off,
Right.
Yeah.
But I think of all of us. No, actually, I'm sorry, John. You remember as well. Good Times USA, which is where the Chinese. Which Chinese place is that now? The restaurant.
Classic Walk.
Classic Walk.
Right next to Jack in a Box and in front of the used to be Cinemark Cinema 4.
Yeah, because I remember that. It was like because that was when like arcades were like literally back-to-back arcades, and then they also had a place where you could get like foods like hamburgers or hot dogs or nachos or whatever, and go just like hang out there.
Yeah.
I have a couple memories because that had some pretty obscure games like Ladybug.
Yeah, that's what I always played.
And Jack the Giant Killer, which I so wanted to like because the whole concept of it's cool. It's the Jack and the Beanstalk fairy tale, but it's just between the hit collision and the just the god awful sound effects on that. I just couldn't like it. It was like nails grating on a chalkboard to me. But again, it was just this dark, dingy place where just like you just went in and did this, and it was especially during the time when Tron had come out, the movie. And that, I think, really just glorified the whole arcade culture, and especially kind of fed into that fantasy. What if you get pulled into one of these games? And,
right.
And just everything was neon lit, and it looked exactly like an arcade game of the time. Which, another side story, that was another influential game, which actually led me to later buy my very own Tron arcade machine. So, and I got it from Master Sales, no less.
Nice.
That was a whole saga because I was working next door at Midway or still Williams at that time, and I wanted to buy Tron because I think it was like $200 or something like that, and I finally earned up enough back money to go get it. And when I went to buy it, Navarro College bought it for their their cafeteria, the commissary area. And I was devastated. And it's like, I mean, all I could do is just like look as other people played my dream game.
Right.
But as it so happened, they sold it back to Master Sales, and I did not hesitate to pick up Tron. And I still have it to this day. It still needs some work, but it's there.
Right.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember that place at all. And I'm wondering if I just never went there or if it was just...
Which place?
What, Master Sales?
No, the one that the Good Times.
Oh, Good Time USA.
Oh,
yeah.
That was before me.
Yeah.
That was always a China Walk when I was there.
Right, that's
Classic
all I remember.
Walk,
Or Classic Walk, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I remember as.
And then there was an arcade called BYOQ, which was across from Pizza Warehouse.
Bring your own quarter.
Yeah, bring
Funny
your own
idea.
quarter. Yeah. Which I never knew existed.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Don't remember these at all.
Yeah. The last arcade I remember in town, and I want to say it was early 2000s. Please, if anyone has the dates, let me know. But it's called the Lone Star Arcade. It was in the College Park Mall before it just became the school or whatever it is now. But before they closed off the inside, it was around the area where like the arcade Super Fun was on this side, so it was like across for like where KB was, but it was bigger and open, and they had like several pool tables, and I went in there a couple of times, but they didn't really upkeep their arcade machines very well. So after like 2 or 3 machines, just one thing or another not working, and that's probably why they weren't around very long.
Right.
Yeah.
My biggest memory of that arcade was someone literally did challenge me to Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, you were saying that he went in there dressed as Sub-Zero.
It was Halloween, and because of Midway, we'd sometimes get costumes of the characters. So I borrowed their Sub-Zero costume, which we were notorious for doing back in those days.
That Sub-Zero got around.
Yes,
oh God,
it
Sub-Zero went everywhere. We all of us dressed as Sub-Zero at some point or another.
He made his way to Nacogdoches.
Yes, he did. We had fun with that costume.
It was a drive-through.
The drive-through, dance-offs at the tennis courts. Yeah, that costume just went so many places.
Yeah.
But I remember because it was Halloween and I was dressed as Sub-Zero and like went in the arcade, and like I remember some guy wanted to fight me, and it wasn't like, I don't know if maybe he thought I was the real Sub-Zero and this was just something he knew. I was like, I'm not the real guy. I don't have ice powers. Please, no. But yeah, I remember kind of like, because I had the mask and I was kind of like this, and I'm just like, it's like, are you serious? Is this what you want to do? And no, that was. I don't remember the games. I just remember some dude wanted to fight me while I was dressed as Sub-Zero, and I was a scrawny Sub-Zero.
Well, Sub-Zero, you invite the crazies.
Yes, exactly.
Normally we brought the crazy in that.
Most of the time, but once in the blue moon, somebody else would show up.
Yeah, somebody else.
Like Plock.
Like Plock.
Plock was a whole other saga.
Yes, he was.
Days.
So growing up, my father actually owned a Herbie that he had bought off of the Disney lot that was used in one of the films. So I grew up with Herbie. I found out there was a Herbie's arcade here in Corsicana that had a VW, and in the arcade, and I'm like, how did that not ever cross paths?
Right.
Right. Like, I literally grew up riding around in Herbie, and I don't understand how I never went there. I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
Because I moved to Texas, I was like 4, so I'm sure it had to have been around at some point in my...
It would have been there.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember going to the skating rink and stuff, and I didn't realize that those silos, somebody at one point had a little arcade in there.
Oh,
it was
yeah,
called
the
the Roundhouse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember playing the arcades at the skating rink, but I don't remember ever going into the Roundhouse.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's proximity-wise right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's in
just
the same
right next
lot.
right.
But
Why
yeah,
did I not ever go in there?
Yeah, I'm glad you were at the arcade, the skating rink though, because I think that might have been where I gamed the most outside of like Aladdin's Castle and Super Fun. Was probably there at the skating rink, and ER Kung Fu, Sinistar.
The Kung Fu, yeah.
ER Kung Fu, where you jump around.
Yep. And
love that. Moon Patrol, played a lot.
Oh,
of
yeah.
Moon Patrol.
Yeah, I loved Moon Patrol. So cool.
I was like, I gotta drive, and I gotta jump over these things, and I gotta shoot the things up here, and I gotta shoot the things here. I was like,
right.
I mean, it was just
that little funky beat that it played. It had a little funky song to it.
Yeah, it did. Yep.
But
It's
yeah,
just amazing how many just different areas there were all over town to play an arcade game, and just amazing. It was a smorgasbord of such a variety.
Yeah, I remember. Go ahead.
I was saying, I just remembered it now, but even Walmart, like the original Walmart that was in College Park, had arcades. I remember playing Return of the Jedi there once.
Oh,
like
wow.
Yeah, it had it there once.
Was it at the front of the store?
It was, yeah. They had them all at the front of the store. And But again, it just goes back to like you could find arcades everywhere back in that time, and it just didn't matter what kind of business you were. Oh, and especially things like laundromats and you know.
Right, yeah.
I don't
anything where adults needed kids to be occupied somehow.
Yeah, now
while they went
these.
and did adulting things.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now they stick the cell phone in the kid's hand and.
Yeah, that's kind of that. But
play all your arcades on there now.
You can, yeah. A good parent.
Sure.
But yeah, so it's sad. It's really can't find them around much anymore. Else you have to go to like Dave and Buster's or these other like beer arcades that are popping up.
Right.
Like I think in Arlington, there's Free Play and.
Yeah, there's a couple of free plays. One in Arlington, one in I think Richardson or something, and then up here in. I haven't heard.
There's a place called Cidercade. That's one of those type places.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And then up
Pensacola,
here in
there's
Frisco. Oh, you've got what?
In Pensacola, there's an arcade bar called Play.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
what's in
and
Frisco?
Do they have arcades?
Yeah, they have like Time Pilot and MK2 and of course Miss Pac-Man. I don't think any bar arcade in general when I walk in, I'm an arcade stop. I'll just flat out admit it. But if you don't have Galaga and Miss Pac-Man in your arcade, I'm just like, whatever.
Right now they've got that combo.
Yeah.
So they should have that.
That is my standard of excellence. If you have Miss Pac-Man and Galaga, then you're okay.
But what if they don't have that, but they do have Popeye and Donkey Kong?
Okay, so they've gone to their little.
They're like a level B arcade then.
No, it's they're trying their thing, and I can respect them for that.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I just remember, not that it doesnn't reflect, of course, Cana, but Wet and Wild had a pretty decent.
They had a really good arcade.
Yes, that's where I played Super Pac-Man for the very first time. Was at Wet and Wild.
But I don't remember if actual Six Flags had one.
Yes, they did. They did. It was over in the western area. That's where I played Mad Dog McCree.
Oh God, yeah.
For the first time, which was a Laserdisc game, but it was all live action acting. So you shot with the little light gun and bad acting happened. Yeah, the prospector.
You missed this one, try another one.
Yep.
Throw it up there. Well, I know one place in Corsicana that never had time to actually get an arcade was that Splashicana.
Too soon.
Too soon.
No, it's coming. Believe me, it's coming. It'll be here this year or next year.
5, 6, 7, and 8.
Or the next year.
Yes.
Maybe they'll have an arcade.
Cinemark 5, 6, 7, and 8 coming soon.
Yeah, when Cinemark 5, 6, and 7 are finally built out, Splashicana will have their arcade too.
Right.
Oh my God! You know what I just realized is, I had such terrible vision growing up, and I refused to wear glasses. That's probably why I didn't enjoy the arcade that much.
Probably so.
Be a good reason.
What was going on?
Yeah, if you can't see what you're fighting or shooting at, then you're doing more work than what we were.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I hated wearing glasses. It was awful.
But I think one of my other favorite arcade memories, especially like in Aladdin's Castle, Paperboy. The arcade, the newspaper in Paperboy was the Daily Sun. So when I saw it, I thought it was like the most amazing thing. Like somehow Atari knew who we were.
Right.
Oh my gosh. This game is in Corsicana.
It's based in Corsicana.
Yeah.
Real life adventures.
There's a house that I passed, I think it's on 4th or something, that is basically all black and gray, and it's like, they canceled their subscription. I need to take a picture of it and put the paper. I mean, it's like, every time I pass it, that's all I think about is they canceled their subscription to the Daily
Now
Sun.
you have to, Kai. Now you have to.
Do they have tombstones and breakdancers in front of the house?
I know.
Does Death come out and try to kill a paperboy? I mean, really? The Grim Reaper wants to come out and kill this kid who's just probably trying to buy, like, I don't know, some baseball cards or something.
Right, yeah, he's just trying to earn a buck, man.
Trying to earn money for the arcade.
Just wants to buy, like, a Ninjago set for his Legos or whatever.
Yeah.
It's tough
I
work
think
being a paper
what I
boy.
enjoyed most about the arcades, besides the fighting stuff, because I wasn't super great at that, and I loved the motorcycle ones or the car racing ones because those were kind of fun. But I love the ones that were like more than just 2 players. So like when the X-Men game came out, I was all over that. I mean, not just because it was X-Men, but because you have 4 people. Like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were 4.
Simpsons.
Yeah.
The Simpsons were 4.
Gauntlet.
Gauntlet
was 4. Gauntlet was a great. Yeah, it was a great 4-player game. Lots of button mashing there.
And
But there were some of those X-Men ones, which I found a picture. It was a 6-player one, and it had 3 arcade screens that combined into one. It was amazing technology.
I only saw that in Dallas, that version.
Yeah,
like at
I saw that
County
here.
Small. I saw it at Tilton County Small. So that was like super cool. But yeah, it's like I do remember one of the benefits of working at Midway. I mean, outside of we'd get all the games first, like whatever we were doing at that time. But Master Sales, because they were an arcade distributor, we get to see like all the other games. Like that was like the first place I ever played Marvel vs. Capcom in Corsicana.
Right.
Oh,
and I actually tried to buy another arcade game after Tron. I wanted to buy Aliens, like based off the movie. And someone bought it and it never came back. So,
yeah, that's the only place I ever saw, and I don't even think it was on, but they had it in there. I saw the Mega Man Power Fighter arcade cabinet, which I never saw in the wild ever. I just saw it in Master Sales there in the warehouse, and I wanted it so bad, but oh well. But so we've covered John's, Herbie's, Good Time USA, BYOQ, Aladdin's Super Fun, Lone Star, and then Guy, were you saying somebody came and told you something about Big Top?
Yeah, our friend Chris told me about a place called Big T, which was apparently at the Mrs. Baird's Bread location, and then Big Top, a lot of bigs, where Game Exchange is now. So, again, those are like, where were we? Because I don't, as I said, I don't remember John's and Herbie's and BYOQ, but I definitely don't remember Big T and Big Top. I think that...
Where's Mrs. Baird's Bread?
It was on 7th.
It was on 7th as you're going towards Navarro or College Park Mall.
Okay.
It would be on your left. A little bit. It was like a little bit before the college on your left. I think maybe farther. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Like it must have been before it was Mrs. Baird's Bread, because I don't remember there ever being an arcade there.
Yeah.
I'd like to know like what kind of games, how many games, because I mean that's a pretty good sized building
for an arcade. Yeah.
For an arcade, yeah.
And that's another thing that I think kind of impaired our production of this. No one took pictures of any of this stuff back then. I mean, at least nothing that I've seen, and it certainly wouldn't be like in a historical context. It might be like a birthday party or whatever. It might be just like so far off in the background you don't think about it. But back in the 80s and even the 90s, no one took pictures of everything. I mean, like today, people take pictures of their toenail and not think a second thing about it. But it's like you had 24 snaps in a camera, and it's just there's no reference that we've seen to actually show some of these places, especially in that context.
Yeah, so if you're watching this and you know somebody or you yourself, I mean, find some pictures, get them to us. We'd love to archive, a visual representation of the arcade scene of Corsicana. Like nobody so far has been able to come up with anything. So, I mean, think back. Did you have a birthday party there? You know, and you might have something, you know, with a picture with these machines in it from these establishments. Man, please share it with us. We'd love to see them and archive them.
Yeah, definitely. Because I know I sure don't have any.
Yeah.
And and I take pictures of practically everything, and I just don't. You know, I just never thought about it. I would have been like not even 10 in some of these instances. And,
Right, exactly. I mean, we were busy playing the video games.
Exactly.
Let me take a picture for historical reference. No, that never crossed my mind.
I wish it would have, looking back.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, so...
But it was always fun.
If there's... Oh, go ahead. No, I just say if there was a location we missed that we didn't list, let us know in the comments or on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Total Geek Live. If you remember, or if you just want to email us at totalgeeklive@gmail.com, the pictures or, you know, anything. So I'm just going to run back through the list here to make sure we didn't miss anything. Because again, thank you to everybody who chimed in to the thread.
Absolutely.
Huge thanks. Huge thanks.
Thank you so much, because we got a lot of great information. There were a lot of things that I didn't know or I didn't remember. It was nice kind of getting to know a little bit more, learning about the arcade scene in Corsicana that I didn't even realize. It was nice. It was refreshing.
Absolutely. You guys made it happen, so...
Yep.
So I got to think of something special for you at the end of the credits. So keep watching.
That's right.
Got a few ideas.
Leave them wanting more.
That's right. You want to stick around for those after credit scenes. They're very, very good.
Very nice.
I learned a thing or two from watching Marvel movies.
Looking here, did we cover somebody said the Barbershop by Dream?
Yeah, so they apparently they'd run there to play games after school. I don't remember that well, so if you remember the name of the barbershop and what games are there, let us know. So we got the original location of CC's. That's the only time I ever saw a Dragon Ball Z arcade game out in the wild.
Right.
The skating rink we talked about, Safeway, Mazio's, Movie Land, HEB, 7-Eleven, the Putt-Putt Golf Place out there we mentioned.
Oh, yeah. I remember playing Berserk. It blew my mind that the first game ever talked. So...
Yeah.
The bowling
alley. Berserk talked to you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Berserk talked. Coin detected in pocket. It
was cool.
Shoot the humanoid. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty witty back then.
Yeah, a lot of fun. You should play it. It still holds up.
Yeah.
The Navarro Mall that had some arcade machines in the center. Super K, OMI, Pizza Warehouse, Fulton's, Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut's where I played Life Force. Friend of mine.
Yeah, I remember most Pizza Huts, especially in the 80s, they had a good, nice arcade set up. Yeah. It was almost like a corporate decision, it seemed.
Yeah.
Pretty much any pizza parlor in the 80s and 90s was guaranteed to have an arcade. It's like they just went together.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, because ours, I don't think so much had an arcade as it had like a little cubby with like 2 or 3 machines.
Right.
Because I only think it had like Galaga and Life Force and maybe 1 or 2 others. Gibson's, meeting in the old Gibson's parking lot. I totally forgot about Gibson's. Yeah, they had the arcade games. I remember more about Gibson's, the chicken that had all the plastic eggs underneath it. And you put in a quarter.
Yeah, you get the little prizes inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It would spin around and lay an egg.
And it clucked, too.
Yeah.
It was kind of creepy. And I mean, like you go up and down and spin around. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. Well, no, it looks like we covered all the shot spots that everybody mentioned.
Yeah, and I forgot to put on the list, but Mortal Kombat, first time I ever even knew it existed, I ran into it. I didn't run into it. I discovered it at the Shell Station on 7th. I'm like, what is this game? Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
And there's like, I suck. Never mind.
It captured your heart and then pulled it out.
Yes.
Still beating. But you know, it's funny as I've gotten older, I think I'm starting to go back into that arcade mindset. I just enjoy the fact that because as I've gotten older, I'm just so busy. I don't really have time to sit down and play games as much as I used to. But it's kind of nice to just kind of go in there, and I still like the competitive feel. I mean, even recently I picked up the Namco Museum on Nintendo Switch because, again, Pac-Man, Galaga. Had a version of Splatterhouse on it, which I haven't really had a chance to ever sit down. Super gory game. Wow, for 1988. But yeah, it's just I there's that nostalgic sense of comfort that arcades provided. That, you know, again, despite home console's best efforts, they've never been able to recreate in that capacity.
Right, and it's nice, quick gameplay. You don't have to put a whole lot of, you know, time and effort into it. It's just a fun little game to play. To pass, you know, 10, 15 minutes of time.
I don't know. There's some people that probably, you know, that have probably put in hours and days logged into some arcade games, you know, on the competitive level.
Sure.
Yeah. Twin Galaxies records all that information.
Yeah.
Walter Day used to do that until he retired. But yeah, he was like an official scorekeeper dressed in a referee outfit, and like all the people who went hardcore on these games, they logged all this stuff. So all these legends are still out there if you want to look it up.
Yeah. So yeah, you could play them casually just to have fun, but man, they were hard. They got intense. So it, you know, casual turned into, you know, cursing and
right. You know, yep. Pretty quick.
Raised heartbeat and blood pressure and all that. So
yeah.
But yeah, no. Yeah. So is there anything else? I think we covered it all that we could remember and that was shared with us. So
yeah.
We want to hear your arcade stories. What were some
definitely
games that you loved to play that really meant something to you? Where did you find them if they weren't in Corsicana? So tell us your stories. That's, you know, that's part of what we're, you know, combining these stories about and cultivating these tales. So we want to hear from you, and you tell us, you know, experience at the arcade.
Yeah, and keep your eye on TotalGeekLive.com. We're going to be releasing our top 5, bottom 5 arcade games throughout the coming weeks, so you can see what we loved and what we didn't love so much.
What we hated.
Well, it was hard for me to come up with games I hated. There were games that frustrated me to no end that made me never want to touch them again, but I still enjoyed the concept of it.
Oh, it was pretty easy for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's some games I just hate. Yep, I hate for them. And then never going to see another quarter or dollar or $2 from me ever again.
Right. Well, Time Traveler is the only one for me I'll outright never stick a coin in again. I'll sit and watch other poor souls try, but no. And I don't hate it, though. I thought it was cool looking. I hated playing it.
How do you feel about Xevious?
I hate Xevious. Oh my god.
I found it!
You did it! There it is, Guy. You did it.
I've hit my personal high score for this evening.
Yes. On that note, man, thanks again, everybody.
Yep. Thank you very much for watching. And this is another Cana Geek episode where we talked about the greatness of the arcades. So, again, it's all geek to us. We thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope that you have your own arcade experiences that, you know, memories, and maybe if you create new ones, it's okay. So thank you. And bye.
Like, subscribe, comment,
share.
Insert coins to continue.
Yes, insert coins to continue.
Insert coin right now to continue. Right now.
I'm sure it'll fit in your CD drive, your USB port. Just put it in there. It's fine. It'll work. Trust me. I didn't say that. I have no legal recourse on that. So if you do it, you know, Yeah,
I might have to some legalese on the screen there. But anyway, bye everybody.
Bye.
I got next game.
Nope. I believe I had next game.
No, Kaiser had next game. He was the first to bring out the quarter. Yep.
He'll be sitting there a while if it's Mr. Pac-Man.